Hey guys, this is Lovelie with the Healing Through Conversations podcast, and welcome. I told y'all we was going to have a PR pro on the podcast. For real, we really did.
Welcome to loveliesteem. I'm Lovelie, the auntie you always wanted, the sister girlfriend you didn't know you needed, honey. You got to have self-love to have self-esteem. And here we know that God don't make no junk. So we're going to sit down, talk about it, and see how we can fix it, baby. Let's do it.
Alyson is a PR pro, fashion and lifestyle expert, and she's also a singer-songwriter. Alyson is the founder and owner of Heart and Soul PR, founded in 2015, with 15 years plus of expertise with both global and domestic clients. She provides opportunities for emerging brands to develop and grow their business. And I'm excited to talk to Alyson Campbell because I don't think that we normally get to talk to the person who fixed the problems and who also introduces you to all of the positive brands who kind of narrates your career, who can give you a voice when you don't understand what your voice should be. Plus, I'm sure she got some juicy stories. She got some stuff that she could tell us about. So today our topics will be brand identification and messaging. We'll be trying to talk about your target audience, media and communications channels, crisis management. I probably need a crisis management right now, performance and metric goals, and so many other things. But I'm really just I'm interested in getting to meet Alyson and see what she's been through this whole time. So come on, let's go take a listen. Let's go. Hey guys, this is Lovelie with loveliesteem, and we are on the Healing Through Conversations podcast. And today I am excited because I get to speak to Miss Alyson Campbell. She is, first, I'm impressed, singer-songwriter. Oh, we're going to talk about that because, yes, all day, every day. But she's also a PR pro, and I think that I always make I statements. I was a little intimidated because I think a PR pro to me is like a therapist for your career, and they read into you so very well. And I was like, oh my God, what if she noticed that the wig is crooked? I mean, let's just talk about it. But Alyson, thank you so much for coming. Please introduce us to you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to join you today. I am Alyson Campbell. I am the CEO and founder of Heart and Soul PR. We're a full service PR agency focused on helping emerging brands really grow their business. And we've worked with brands small, large, everything in between, all categories: beauty, lifestyle, wellness, food and beverage, hospitality, luxury goods. So I've seen a lot of things. And as you mentioned, I am a singer-songwriter. So we're very excited. We just launched our single for the summer called Don't Play. It's an afrobeat. So lots of fun. It's definitely danceable, and building my music career as well. So I'm really excited to join you. Thank you again for having me.
Thank you. Okay, she said Afrobeats. I don't have rhythm. Just take it for face value. But
I don't believe you.
but if Caribbean music comes on or Afrobeats comes on, I can feel it. But other than that, I look like Elaine from off of Seinfeld. I can give you it's not okay. It's not okay. So tell us, how did you get into PR?
Yes, I was very fortunate. So I went to school for journalism and I got my degree in journalism. And I had been in my senior year actually, and I was involved in everything you can imagine on campus, from musical theater to student senate to all the coursework, because I also have a degree in music. And essentially, my roommates, thank you, were telling me about this PR meeting, and they're like, "We really think you should come." And I thought, how on earth am I going to take on more with my course load and all the activities? But I listened, and I'm so glad I did. I went over to our Public Relations Society of America. Shout out to them. They really helped jumpstart my career. And our Student Society chapter was amazing. And we had a chance to really dig in about the profession. And I thought, I think this is something really for me. I had my heart set on moving to New York City, where I began my PR career, which I'll talk about in a moment. And I really loved the idea of being able to harness my creativity that comes with writing. I mean, journalism is very specific, but with PR, I could use a lot of the skills from journalism, knowing how the newsroom works, knowing how to approach press, so on and so forth. And I really fell in love with the profession. And I had intended to become a newspaper or magazine journalist, but found myself, I fell into PR, and I'm really grateful for it. I learned, on the fly really, but a lot of those principles really carried me from my media background. So essentially, I was really fortunate. I worked really hard my senior year as well in college to really start looking for, whether that was an internship opportunity in addition to some of the other internships I had done, or just getting informational interviews with companies. And so after doing that legwork, I was able to interview with the company I began my career with, which is Porter Novelli in New York City. And I'm really grateful for that experience, Lovely, because I really had a chance to really grow in the business. I worked with clients of all kinds, from kind of big technology brands to more of the lifestyle brands, to some food and beverage brands. So I really had my hand in a lot of pots, as they say. I really learned like being thrown in the deep end, just really, hey, figure it out and work hard. And I knew I wanted to be in New York City. So I was very intentional about that. And when I was interviewing, for all the firms, so I had a chance to start my career in New York City and really built from there. But that's how I got into PR. And I love telling the story because it doesn't mean you have to necessarily be in that major or have always had that experience. If it's something you're passionate about, I guarantee you're going to land on your feet.
I love it. I love it. And I love that you've had, like, I'm sure for all of us, when we're thrown into the deep end, you're like, all right, sink or swim, right? Like sink or swim, or hold on to the sides and see what's going to happen majority of the time. And yes. New York is one of those places where sink or swim, holding on to the side really is not going to work out for you.
Gotta keep swimming, like they say in Finding Nemo.
One of my favorites. So when you first learned about PR, what were your thoughts versus what it really truly became for you?
Well, I think in general, Lovely, there's a big perception around, there's a lot of perceptions, I should say, around public relations and what it means. And we'll break some of that down for everybody too today. But one of the things I think is people think it's such a glamorous profession. And there are certainly glamorous aspects to the role that, you work in PR, and to the work you get to do, because yes, there's opportunities to do really cool events, and there's opportunities to do, really great work for your clients. And there's opportunities to, sometimes get some great swag, whatever the case may be. But I say that to say is it's still work. It's not this, kind of treasure trove that you're going to just step in and be on a red carpet every day and have this glamorous lifestyle. It's a lot of hard work. And that is the thing. It is an art form. And, I talk to clients about this every day because like what you do, right? It's an art form. You're trained for it. You've practiced it. You meet with your clients, you understand their needs, then you develop plans that are going to help support those needs. And very similarly, that's how PR works too. We're not just, oh, we decided to throw this cool event because our client is so cool. It's really thoughtful about what we do in our business, right? And the best PR practitioners you'll find are the ones who built their career on relationships, because it is a relationship business, much like yours. It's about those ability to just connect, whether you know a journalist or not, to your client's story, help them understand why this is important for them to cover, because PR is earned media. So it means you are paying your PR person or PR firm to do work on your behalf to elevate your business. But that means we work with journalists to get you covered in the news, whether that's now so many blogs or now social media, right, is so big. But before that, it's newspapers, it was magazines, it's still some of that print work, it's broadcast, it's all kinds of formats we have to understand as the PR practitioner, and then guide our clients to the right strategy, because, you'll hear it every day, Lovely, right? I want to be on Good Morning America. And that's an amazing goal to have, but it doesn't mean everybody gets on Good Morning America just because they think they have a cool story or a cool product. So it's our job to really kind of see where they're at in their business, evaluate that, put that into an actionable strategy, and then move their business forward from there.
You really sound like you have too many hats on, is what I'm hearing.
Many hats,
Yeah.
many hats, because you're a business development person, you're a strategist, you're a human relations coordinator at the end of the day, right? You're dealing with, all kinds of things, whether that's a client personality, whether that's a journalist. You are working social strategy, you are working event production, budgets, all the things that may not be as glamorous, but pay off in the end, right? And to be able to help clients with whether it's a small goal or a bigger goal, and then seeing that outcome, that's one of the things I love about it the most.
Yes, and I love the fact that a lot of the tasks that you mentioned are so very people related. It's very humanitarian forward, right? Because yes, it's really nice to have a great brand and to have this thing, but you're really, especially nowadays, I think that you have to really sell the person. You really have to make the person that you are representing believable, comfortable, somebody that you could talk to, because this new generation isn't interested, like we would just buy it because grandma said buy it, right? And this new generation is like, no, are they a good person? Well, do they like anime? Well, who do they vote for? You're like, oh, wait a minute. I was just trying to buy some Dove soap. Like I was just trying.
Right. Right. It's so true. I'm so glad you said that, because you're buying the person at the end of the day, right? You're buying like what you come to the table with, and it is a chemistry check a lot of times, especially when I'm working with new clients. It's just like in the interview process for a regular job. I really want to see, does this client, one, have the budget and the reasonable expectations around their brand? That's really important, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's unrealistic expectations, can we break those barriers down and talk about them? Or like in your business, right? We use the word coachable. Is this person coachable? And it's the same in public relations, right? Because I have to be able to tell my clients something they might not want to hear. And that means I'm doing my job. And that's okay, because it might be that phase one, this is okay, we're starting here. But to get you to phase three is going to take this level of work. And so I have to really, I really interview my clients just as much as they interview me, to really see if it's going to be a fit for our business and for them, frankly, too. And so I think that's something that's really important, to your point, is really understanding that human relationship that we all have to each other. And then they're buying us at the end of the day, right? They're buying whatever those qualities are that you possess. And it's interesting, because I tell people, when winning business, and I'm sure you've had this experience too, sometimes it's the smallest things that are going to make someone say, I trust you.
It really is. And a lot of the times I found it's when you feel like you're failing. It's when you feel like I shouldn't have done that, because it's the human part of the job, right? Because some days you break character. We sometimes show up with masks because we don't know what we need. What do you need? And before I can really give you 100% of me, I need to make sure that it's a safe space. Because if I'm walking into a crisis, I have to have a certain kind of armor on to be able to handle whatever you're going to throw at me, So like
Yes.
being in that space where you're like, okay, I'm human, and this is how I really feel. I used to tell people, ask me, do you want the professional or do you want the real? Because sometimes they're not the same thing. They're so far apart. But the real is what
Definitely.
most people kind of resonate with. And I'm sure that's with you. Like, give it to me straight so I can do what I can
Yes.
do.
Yes. No, I love how you said that, Lovely, because it's so important, right? At the end of the day, we want that authenticity. I know if it were me and I was having someone consult for me, I wouldn't just want to hear what I want to hear. I want to know, okay, how is it going to move me from point A to point B, and what does that mean? What work do I need to put in, right? And it goes back to kind of that coachable model we're talking about, even in your business, right? You're going to want to work with someone who is willing to do the work, is understanding that it's not overnight. These are all the same things that are so similar in PR. And I really encourage clients too to understand the funnel. And when I use the word funnel, I mean, what does that look like with your business? Okay, do you have a website presence? And I know that sounds like a really simple question, but it doesn't mean you just have a website and you have a few images parked here and there. I mean, Is your website fully functional? Are you able to support inbound, requests and sales coming in? Do you have a sales team that can help support you? And it's okay if on, whatever day of your business, you are still building those systems. But without that, there's going to be a lack of even being ready for press, because once press start writing, you're going to have those inquiries, right? You're going to have people coming to your website. You're going to have people coming to your social media accounts. Are those set up and ready to go? So we really do a very robust, really onboarding process for the brands that we work with and our clients to really make sure they understand that we, one, have their back. I want to make that clear. We are always going to have your back. You have to trust us as much as we trust you to give us the information as your business is developing too. And then how can we build you a roadmap that's going to get you to that place that you consider success? And as you know, Lovely, that place of success is going to look very different year 1, year 2, year 3. And we do like to build long-term partnerships with our clients when possible. Sometimes it is project basis that we work on. Sometimes it is a shorter term thing. But I say to everybody we talk to, like, what are you looking for? Because if sometimes it's just a quick, hey, we need this. It's not to say we won't say yes or no. We just need to really understand then what does that trajectory look like after?
Yeah.
Because that is that work to onboard. That is that work to, get to whatever the goal is for our brands. And we are really invested in the time that we spend with our brands because we want to make every minute and every hour count that we're billing them for work.
Yeah. And I love the sustainability of the relationship, because I think that sometimes for like a layman, we hear PR rep and you think babysitter, right? Because whenever we are introduced to PR, it's usually because you're saving the day. You're like flying in to save the day. And you never think about the day-to-day task with you guys building a brand, helping the brand understand why they're getting the results they're getting. And if it isn't doing so well, helping them to like redirect in a way that doesn't cause a crisis.
That's right.
Because I think that a lot of the times when it's such fast paced and everybody's minds are stuck on 15 minutes, like seconds, getting somebody's attention for one whole minute is, I'm still working on it, but, but I think that what you guys do is you create such a comprehensive outline, and then you help the person feel comfortable inside of there,
That's
because
right.
you guys are really, you're like very uniform safe spaces. You know what I mean? Like you're creating all of these different intellects in entities. And I can't imagine. I think they'd be looking for me. They'd be like, ma'am, I'd be just standing outside reading a book. Are you checking? No, I don't think we're going to be able to save you, sir. Like, you can't get in trouble every day. Every day?
Right.
I mean, but do you have times where you have to really take a moment and say, I don't think that this relationship is going to fit, because, and how hard is that to do, especially when you're trained to make it work?
I love that you asked that question, because I think this is so paramount to anyone in business, anyone trying to build a business, or anyone just in life, is that ability to say, hey, like, this isn't working for me. And it's not going to work for you this way if we continue this way. Right. And so I love that you asked that, because getting into the tougher questions, right, in both life and business is really important. That's when we really find that growth and that growth space. And like, let's talk about being able to stretch, to your point, Lovely, right? Because that's what I call it. Like, okay, cool. That's why we ask about coachability up front. Like, how much are you willing to work with me? And I will tell you, you have to be able to cut bait when you need to, right? I mean, that's one thing that I practice. And as an earlier startup, I want to kind of start there because I was there. And, one of the things you would ask me in our preliminary questions was, well, what were some of the challenges you dealt with? And as you know, with any kind of business, especially in that year 1, you may not be able to be as particular with the clients you're working with. You're like, hey, I need to build this business. I'm going to not just work with them, obviously, for the money, but like, okay, cool. Like, I can't be as discriminate with the businesses I'm working with. I'm really building, and you learn along the way. So That being said, it still doesn't mean that if you are compromised in any way, meaning you've had a conversation with, person, insert here, client, or let's just say friend in life. And if something isn't working and that both parties aren't willing to address, then it's probably time to say, hey, we need to put a pause on this, or, we need to cut bait, frankly, because it's not working. And I think that's being an adult, right? That's literally adulting,
Ugh,
as hard as it can be,
I
right?
know.
Like, we have to learn. We don't have to be all things to all people, and we can't be all things to all people.
I
And
am interested. That I
oh,
love that.
there is, I mean, now that we're, throwing the can off here, I think it's really important to open up the lid on this, really. But I have had to say no, to at a certain point to clients. I have had those experiences where it wasn't working anymore, and that could be a disalignment with their expectations, right? And what I'm able to provide with the, in our business, we, the way we base a lot of our work is hours. And, everybody's measure of success may be a little bit different, but that's why I always try to align on those expectations up front, because I'm not going to tell you anything that you want to hear. I'm not that person. And I think any good professional is going to say, like, you might hear some things that you don't agree with, and that's okay, but I'm doing this in your best interest. And you have to know I'm always acting on your best interest. So I think if it gets to the point too in any business where, and these are kind of the flags I would throw up, Lovely, is like, is it taking your, like mental energy too far? Like, are you feeling stressed from the relationship? Okay. And if I've identified those stressors and and then I'm able to have that conversation, are we able to like move forward? And if the answer is no, then that's no. And then, I think it goes to, in my line of business, like I said, level of service, and I think it's really important we dig in here, because this is such an important topic that you've brought up for people to be able to know how and when to say, like, this isn't working for me anymore. But, there have been various occasions for different reasons, like I said, I've had to say, this isn't working for me anymore. And I'm not just going to like leave you and throw you to the side and, make you like try to figure it all out. I will, do a handover. I like to give whatever I can in that kind of like ending of that, relationship. But I think it's really important for us, Lovely, that we say, hi, you know what? We need to have a conversation about this. And if we've addressed the things we need to address and there isn't change being made and things aren't working, then we have to be able to say, like, I'm sorry, this isn't working for me, and here's why. And more people, I think, need to have those conversations, because otherwise it's just going to continue in a cycle of frustration.
I agree. I told my me and my best friend, we were having a conversation, and I said, wisdom is learning that you don't have to be everything. Like sometimes the best thing that you can do is call another friend and say, hey, such and such isn't doing so well, or this isn't a topic that I can handle. Can you call them? Because you may think that you're the person for the job, and then you get a little bit in there and you're like, oh no, reverse. And sometimes
Yes.
you get stuck. And now you're trying to fix a problem that you should have never signed up for. And sometimes that even happens in business. I think with me, because it's with mental health, it's so very touchy because people are dependent. Like whenever people hear mental health, they forget that there's multiple layers. You have mental health, the ability to handle everyday life. Mental illness, very different. Mental health disorder, very different, because you can have a disorder and not consider it illness because you haven't gone and got diagnosed. And when you're trying to coach people, even when you're talking about, because my big thing is I want people to have wonderful businesses, but I want you to realize how your personal life relates to your business life. So I want to build the person, and then you can build the business. But if the person is broken, the business is going to be broken. And that is and that's a big thing for me. So I had to learn how to not be the running. I'm like, I don't want to be the fireman. I'm not going to carry you down the steps. I can't, like,
Right.
I'm panicking too. So like, let's not do this. But I think it's a hard thing to do because you want, and like you said, your first, second, third year, you don't want to say no because you're scared you're going to miss the blessing. You're going to miss that moment And sometimes you were supposed to miss it. You really
Yes.
supposed to miss it.
100%. I mean, 100%. I love what you said. And it's that analogy you hear on the airplane all the time, which is putting your oxygen mask on first before you can help somebody else. And that person, that client, that insert here cannot deplete you so much that you don't have your reserve. You're on your reserves now and you're like, because I need to be able to help you, hello. Right. So I'm really glad you shared that. And I really like this conversation so much because we're talking like technical things, we're talking life things, we're talking principles, but it's so great. And I'm loving it.
Thank you so much. I really, I think when I was younger, when you grow up and you're a talkative person, like I'm not an extrovert, but if we're gonna have a conversation, I want us to feel like we got something out of it, right? And I think that when you're younger, a lot of us heard like you talk too much, or why are you so excited, or you're moving too much. And then as you become an adult, you get so paranoid to have conversations because all of the old trauma, those words of other people, that doubt. But I had to learn, sometimes they saw a light in you that was so big that they didn't know what to do with it. And now that you're an adult, you get to control the light, where it goes, where it doesn't go. So yes. I love having these conversations because I love how relatable you are to a business owner, right? Because I think that, like, when would a business owner contact you in general, and how, like, is it a more of a crisis, or is it just the brand building itself?
Yeah, and I love that you asked that because I think at any point in the business, it does make sense to think about public relations. And I'm not just saying that because, hey, go hire your PR person down the street. But PR is so pivotal in so many areas. But it's important to think about where you are in your business cycle. And to your point, where are you looking to go? What are you looking to do? And all of that. So I haven't fortunately had to deal with too many crisis things. I have had I am still in PR, so I have had them, but a lot of clients come to me for the latter part you mentioned, which is brand building, which is, whatever those goals are for them, getting a brand out to a certain target audience, getting more press for the brand or any press for the brand, which is a big ask that we fulfill. Of course, that's probably one of our main services. And then besides that, social media, of course, has become really important for so many. There are so many things to learn. And so that's why I love being able to fold in the social strategy as part of our practice, because that does go hand in hand now with press, with, your business building too. Because now you can use social media to earn money for your business, which you couldn't do before, right? So now we're really giving that social strategy. And also we do some social strategy execution as well, Lovelie, in terms of, we will play social media manager if we need to, like if it is a smaller company or if it is a client that doesn't maybe have the ability to post frequently or consistently, we will take that role for them for a certain amount of time, or, really encourage them to continue. That's why I said earlier, like, how are you building your team too as a business owner? Because you also can't rely on one thing. And that could be, in your case, Lovelie, as amazing as you are, they can't just rely on you to do, oh, she's going to change my life. Like, I still have to do the work, right? Our clients, same thing, same principle applies. It doesn't mean we're doing everything under the sun for you. Now, you can pay us to do all of your sales and marketing and social and press. But most people don't have the means to do that, nor does it make sense for us to take on every single aspect. So back to kind of that onboarding process, we really come in wherever it makes sense for the client, right? And everybody is a little bit different. So we really handle, and think that's something that really sets my business apart too, is we really are personal with our touch. And that was something that I was really committed to in starting my own business. And that is why it is called Heart and Soul, really putting that heart and soul into business, because I had seen that missing from the big corporations I'd worked with, and not that empowerment mentality. It was just kind of get the job done. But I thought there's a better way to do business. So in all of our experiences with clients, we take an individual approach to each person. So, you know, if they are coming to us in crisis, we'll help you. If they are coming to us for more general, you know, brand building, we'll help. If they're already, you know, 3, 4 years in, and I had a client like this, very successful, but they just needed this PR machine to really help them get onto a certain business list they wanted to be on, and they were very specific about that goal.
Wow.
And because they were so specific, we were able to help them really reach that goal. And then we didn't, you know, work on the business anymore, which is, you know, a beautiful thing too, when they're that successful that you're able to be like, wow, we did our job, and you can go and take your
Yeah.
next steps in business, you
And I'm
know.
sure
So
that then brings people back to you because they know that you can fulfill the need that they have, which is wonderful. But I want to talk about your songwriting. I would be remiss if we didn't go there, because when you talked about your song, your eyes lit up, and I was like, we have to go back, because like, it's wonderful to have a business. It's wonderful to, you know, be successful, but when you're spiritually successful, when your soul feels good, when you like nurture that inner child in you that wanted to do something, especially you talked about being a theater kid. It's a different person. It's a different person in there. So let's talk about it. Let's tell us about it.
Okay, well, what do you want to know?
Okay, so how long have you been a songwriter?
So I've been songwriting for about the last 3 years. I started as a young kid in theater, like you said, in church too, in school. You know, I was doing children's choirs and musical theater. And so I've always had music a big part of my life. I studied piano from a young age, and I really got to learn at my grandma's knee, which was an amazing experience. And then, you know, moved on to some other teachers, and, you know, really built this just incredible desire and passion, not only because I've always loved doing music, but because I really learned like the technical aspects of it. So, as I mentioned to you when I introduced myself and kind of in my journey story, I started doing, you know, I got my degree in music. So, I mean, I really had to do the full music school curriculum too, just like I did with my journalism career. And that isn't all, you know, butterflies and sunshine. It's like hard, you know, drills, ear training, music theory. But I'm really grateful for that, because it gave me a foundation. Now I can really think about all different kinds of genres of music, and, you know, the songwriting aspect of those things, and what that, you know, I call it the classical music training, really did for me was be able to open me up to understand, you know, the different, you know, ways and in which to work, right? So it's really fun. You know, I've really found my stride in 2021. I'm so glad you asked, in the R&B space. And I've really enjoyed it, because I am a singer at the end of the day. And, you know, Afrobeats kind of found me this summer with one of my co-writers, which was amazing. And, you know, I just love getting in there and being able to tell inspirational messages, right? At the end of the day, music is poetry,
Oh my
right?
gosh.
It's cadence, it's flow, it's tempo, it's all these things. So we tell a story, very much like my work in the PR and marketing fields, which is being able to be a storyteller.
Absolutely. And I think that for like when you're I always say when you're like a dual sport, right? Because like you're always in competition with yourself, like trying to make sure that your intellectual side and your creative side gets like a 50-50. I always go 51-49, 51-49. Spending more time trying to figure it out. But having something that is very unique to you, having something that kind of pushes you, you're like, the reason why I do these other things is, yes, because I love it, but it allows me to do this one thing that brings me so much joy. And I love that you talked about your grandmother, because I was talking to another lady and she was saying how important her grandmother was in her life, in building her up and giving her that self-esteem, and like implanting those words, or like really like imprinting those words into, and your worth into who you were, you know, so that way when you went out into the world and somebody told you something different, you could be like, but my grandmother told me.
Totally. I'm so grateful. I mean, she's since passed, but I feel her presence, and I still have one of her pictures, which is on the words of the music sheet is practice, 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 right? And that's in everyday life, right? It's like we still have to always be learners of this world and, just continue to like learn and grow and, be open to that, right? So I'm really grateful for her influence and her inspiration. And I love what you said. And I'm grateful to have the opportunity to carry forth her legacy
Yeah.
as well. And I definitely feel that, and I'm grateful for it.
And how has your PR background helped you in your musical career?
I love that question. So it's interesting you asked because for a while I was really focused on like, I want to find somebody to really like represent me. And I think that will come in terms of PR aspect when I feel ready for that right person. But because of that, I am really discriminate of like, okay, can you really deliver? Because I know I'm really passionate about delivering results for my clients. And at the end of the day, like our business is a results based business. No matter how you slice it, it doesn't matter how nice you are. Like at the end of the day, clients are paying you to see results. So I think that mentality is something that's really important. And so, anyway, all to say is I'm really grateful for my background because it has allowed me to think as so I'll just use our Don't Play release as a good example because that's what we're really focused on right now. And I put together a social media challenge for Don't Play. By the way, if you want to get involved, it's hashtag Don't Play. Because of the idea is like, don't play with me. Like whether you're a health coach, whether you are in fitness, whether you are a beauty or a fashionista expert, show us like how no one can mess with you, right? So we really created the hashtag to inspire people to show off like their skills, and it's been really cool to see some of that organic, traction and also inspire people, which we want to do at the end of the day. That's my purpose. I know on this earth is to be a light in every room I walk into. So for me, having that PR background has allowed me to create some creative, like just executional moments really for the song, for, my team that I'm working with, which includes my producers, my co-writers, songwriters, my engineers, anybody that's involved in my projects. I'm able to really like think about, all right, how do we want to do this release, and we're getting to the point where we'll focus on a media tour coming up. But that's been great to be able to say, okay, we know how to do it, and I will help us get there. So it has been really exciting to be able to apply that to my own music business. Yes.
I love it. I love it. I love when people have passions that make them glow. Like sometimes you're passionate about something because you study very hard and you deserve that. But then there's like a passion that comes from the inside and it shows. Like it's one of those things where it's very tangible, and that's what I feel from you. Like I can feel your energy, just with regard to the song, but like how you were able to take what you love so young, really work on that throughout the years and build it into a place where not only am I able to work for myself, I'm able to work on myself all at the same time. And I love it. I love girl
Thank you
power
for
all day.
seeing that. Thank you. Thank you. I'm very grateful.
I love it. I love it. And so if a person is thinking about hiring a PR team, like what are some of the questions that they should think about? What are some of the avenues they should also like what are some of the traps that they should really think about as well?
I love this question. Thank you. I think first and foremost is, do I have a budget for this? And I say that to say, I know that sounds simplistic to you and I, but just like working with you, you know what I mean? We don't do our work for free. And now I'm not talking about if there's an opportunity to give back or volunteer or do some nonprofit like based work or something we might consider pro bono. That is something also I'm very passionate about, by the way. But I'm talking about like day-to-day work. So we don't do work for free. Like I don't know who came up with this idea of like, hey, like I want all this strategy, but like I don't know if I'm ready to hire you. It's like, okay, well, I started learning early on, Lovely, that you really, especially too, that's that onboarding process, I call it too, even before we onboard, like those kind of initial like consults you have with your clients, right?
Mm-hmm.
you kind of know where somebody is, right? And I think that's really important to like take that in as a business owner too, no matter what profession we're talking about, but especially in my line of work. And I really ask the person, like, you know, you have to really understand their readiness, to your point. Like, all right, are we ready for press? And if we're not, that answer, that's okay. Okay, but are we ready to go pre-press and really talk about what that looks like? Meaning, let's talk about like a product versus a service-based business.
Mm.
Okay, I'll use a beauty client. I'm not going to name names as an example. Do you have your product samples easily available? Because we're going to need to have those ready for any kind of press we're doing, or even any social media. We've got to be able to shoot the product, right? People want to get their hands on it. That's why I say too, like, do we have the sales funnel ready? Do we have those kinds of things in place? And that's okay if the answer is no, because I can work, like I said, at any level with someone. And that could just be strategy consult. So, hey, come to me, come with your questions. Let's build a business plan together. And that's what I did last year for a client of mine who's just getting off the ground. She just really needed some direction, and she's a mom of two. She had a lot going on. So I said, let's just break down what your key steps can be over the next 3 to 6 months to get this off the ground for you. And that was a game changer for her. Now, I've had clients, like I said, that maybe 3 or 4 years into their business, but they haven't necessarily had a PR person to help, our PR team. So then we're going to look at that very differently, right? So I would say for a minimum, whether your product or service, and service meaning, like something like you do, something where you have professional services that you offer, have some kind of packages around those, ready to go, or at least you've thought of it, have something you can sell, right? Like at the end of the day, you need to really think that through. And of course, PR can help you with that. But as much as you can kind of come to the table ready, website, ideally you've thought about how your flow of your site is. We do website building, by the way. We also do e-commerce now for product companies, because a
Nice.
lot of times they need help building that out, which is great. We love to
Mhm.
help there too. So, I mean, I think you can come kind of at any point in your business, but just know we're going to build a strategy for you that's going to make sense where you're at. So if you do, just like with anything, more of the work up front, there's going to be less cost up front. If you have a lot more work to do up front, then there's going to be more cost up front, right? So it's really, and we do like a sliding scale. So some people will say, hey, I'd love to see what like tier 1, 2, and 3 can be for me, because I don't know if I can fully invest in everything, but what is enough to get me off the ground in the next, 60 to 90 days? And we're happy to work from that place too.
Nice. I love that. And what are some of the pitfalls that people kind of fall into that hinder you from being able to do the job the best?
Responsiveness is a big one. And I know it sounds simplistic, but I think, the ability for us to be able to reach our clients is critical, especially as we're building for them. And if you're too busy and you can't even, make weekly meetings, then it's probably not the time for us to be working with you. And I know that sounds simple, but that's okay. And if, like I said, the answer is no right now, meaning you've got too many things going that you need to figure out, that's great. But that would be something I think is really important, especially when we get into our press mode. I tell clients, like, I start to give them kind of like our Bible, if you will. But our really like onboarding, book, which is, and it's not a book, but it is just kind of some guidelines to say, like, when we start press, you might have to get back to us within a 2 to 3 hour period, because we
Mhm.
have a press request and it's going to move very quickly. And that's how a lot of media work, right? Like, let's just look at what is happening too with the election right now, right? And
Yeah.
those journalists that had to scramble to cover Biden saying, I'm not going to run now, right? So I mean, and that was on a weekend, right? And I use that as an example to say it's not always that big of a news or that big of like an urgency, but that is journalists and that is their mentality, because they're on to the next story. So I've had clients miss opportunities because they couldn't get back in time. So we started to put kind of like a guideline of timing to understand, like, hey, once we start hitting press, we're on. Like, we got to go. I might text your phone. And if I have to blow up your phone to get in touch with you to say, hey, I need these answers,
Yeah.
we'll help you write them, but I need this in a certain amount of time. I think that's something that, also is important, pitfall to avoid is like that goes into the responsiveness category, right, Lovely? But it's also that kind of being ready to be always on too, because, and whether it's press or something else that might come up, like, oh, hey, we just learned like our product samples aren't going to be available for another 2 weeks. Well, I need to know that, because if we're actively on social, if we're actively talking to press, great, we can change the timeline, but now we need to adjust, our deadlines or some of the strategies we're using for the business. So I think that's a really important one, is that communication back and forth, like being able to, like, even if something changes, it's okay to, and I tell that to team members too, by the way, Lovely, when it comes to building a PR team. I know that was one of your questions. Is a successful team for me looks like those who are willing to kind of, and I really, work-life balance is really important to me. Let me tell
But
you that.
sometimes it doesn't
But
work
in
out
our
that way.
profession,
Yeah.
things sometimes do happen after hours. I need your at least ability to, if you can't respond, send that to me so that we can get something to a client, or the ability to tell me if you have too much on your plate, or maybe this week got away from you, because that's then going to affect something in the next week. So I love the just simplicity of communication is really important both ways. Will help with so many pitfalls as well. So those are just a few things, but I would say responsiveness and communication are critical.
And that is in every stage of life. This,
Yes.
that's the great part, because I think sometimes, like when we're talking to people, and one of my big things is being able to articulate, right? And articulation doesn't always mean that it's proper. It means that I'm speaking a language that you understand. And one of the things that I've noticed when I was looking at information about being a PR rep is that you guys are so bilingual in very different ways, right? Because every client doesn't speak the same language. It depends on what industry you're in. It depends on what they're trying to sell or not sell. And it also depends on their personality. So you're like learning how to switch on a dime to be able to answer the call and then text the person in a very different font, and I think that's so, like, it's so important throughout life that we're going to have times where we're going to have to change up how we talk to people to communicate so that we can get the job done. And it doesn't mean that it's phony or fake. It just means that I'm trying to relate to you in a way that's going to get the results that you want as soon as possible. Because yes, money is great, but I also want my time back too. Like,
exactly. I love it. You broke it down perfectly.
yeah. So, but I want to thank you for being on the podcast, because even I was a little intimidated. I'm like, PR. So they're like therapists for business, I said earlier. And I'm like, oh, it just seems like it's so much work. And you definitely told me that it was a lot of work, but I can see how the results create the fun. It creates the excitement, and it creates that space where you're like, I did it. It was hard, but these were the steps, and we accomplished what we wanted to. And I think that by itself is worth it's a great journey to go through, because you learn so much about failures and successes in that realm, and I think it helps you, probably, I'm sure it'll help you with your music career, because your expectations, where you've seen people kind of fall and people succeed, and you can be like, these are my expectations, but this music is my baby. So don't touch the baby.
Yes.
We'll work the rest of this out.
That's right. No, you broke it down perfectly. It is that so much. And I appreciate you seeing the not only value of PR, but the hard work that, the PR professionals do. Because I think sometimes that does get overlooked, because you see like the beautiful thing at the end of it, but you don't always know what goes into making that, right? So very much like music too, it is a journey, and it definitely just, this business has taught me, to your point, so many things. And it's definitely a resilience mentality with anything that we do in life, right? But just being able to understand what it is. And if it didn't work out, we're going to have those failures, because it's this thing called life. But being able to bounce back from that and keep moving forward is so critical. So I'm so glad you mentioned that too.
Yes. So, But I thank you so much. I look forward to seeing great things from you. You're going to have to send me the link to the song so I can add it to our clip so we can do the hashtag, because I love a good social media hashtag. It's great.
Great.
I love it. So please send me that, because I think that's how, especially I think with Entrepreneurista, I love the safe space that it creates for you to ask the questions that you would not feel comfortable asking outside of that space, and asking for the help.
Yes.
So I love that. And I love the connections that it's bringing into me, because you guys are educating me on spaces that I would normally not be a part of. I mean, coaching and talking about mental health, it can get so deep and so heavy that you don't even think about yourself needing a personal like a public representative. You don't think about that because you're just trying to like get the person out of crisis mode most of the time. So I appreciate what I've learned from you, and I think that I feel like I'm gonna be dancing to your song. I'm gonna do a little TikTok one.
I can't wait. I want to see it. I don't
have any rhythm, so you might get one booty sway and that's it.
Hey. I love it. I love it. Well, thank you. Yes, I'll definitely send it over to you so you can post that. And so appreciate the time in this space to have this conversation with you and offer everything you're creating. I'm so excited.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And you have a wonderful night. And I look forward to talking to you again, Alyson.
You too, Miss Lovelie.
Bye.
Take care.
You too, sweetheart. So today we learned about PR pros, the pros and cons of hiring a PR company. I think for me, the lesson that I learned was be as open as you can as a business owner and learn to communicate, even when it's uncomfortable. I think when we think about PR work, public relations just feels so broad. It can feel way above what you think that you need. But with them helping with brand building, with them helping with getting your business off the ground, getting you into the offices that you need in order to grow your business, but also understanding that PR is about human relations. And the more you believe in yourself and you believe in the team that you're building, the easier it'll be to have that PR pro really work for you. So again, you have Heart and Soul PR with Alyson Campbell. I'll make sure that I tag her in this because she was so inspirational. And I love that she started a business that she not only went to school for, but that she feels very passionate about. But also, my girl said, hold this, hold my cape. I also got a song for you. And we're going to do a hashtag on that because I told her I can do one booty swing. That's all I got, because the rhythm don't be rhythm in the way it used to. That's all I'm saying. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. We hope that you liked it. Please like, subscribe, follow. You can reach me, Lovelie, at www.loveliesteem.com or at loveliesteem. You can find me on all the places. I try to make sure that I stay as updated as possible. And remember, I want you to articulate your feelings, wants, needs, and desires so that you can better advocate for yourself and the people that you love, because that is the language that we need. We can't tell people what we want if we don't know exactly what we want. However, you can hire a good PR pro to tell you how to get your business from sinking under or to keep afloat. Anyway, guys, be good. Try not to hurt nobody, because I can't bail you out of jail. I just really can't do it. Talk to y'all later. Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you found some healing, connection, and joy. Until next time, bye, loves.